Hello, I wanted to document more of my drawing processes, so I'm taking you drawing with me. I just bought a new camera, so I want to take advantage of that and do more drawing. This is just a quick figure sketch in charcoal right before I pop off to the gym. I'm starting with the head, a little circle for the head, and then looking to get the slope of the shoulders. And then mark on the height of the breasts. And gestural lines for the legs. I'm using a blending stump that is already very dirty, and it is loaded up with charcoal. So I'm just ghosting in these lines, and they will serve as guidelines for the rest of the sketch. Another reason for making this video is that when I watch other artists, I'm always very interested in seeing everything, every stroke, how they hold their materials, when they drop them, when they pick up different ones. So I'm hoping to capture all of that. There are links to all the materials I use in the description. Here I've turned the charcoal on its side and created a little bit of texture. Here I've got a photo of a sculpture. So all the hard work really is done for me. The accentuated pose with the twist, the contrapposto, opposing angle of the shoulders and hips, that's all perfectly portrayed for me already, and the lighting is also brilliant. The heavy lifting is done for me, and all I need to do is just draw it semi-accurately and add a little bit of flair. Since the light is usually coming from a light source that is slightly above the figure, in many standing poses it makes sense that the bottom of the figure is darker, so why not just add a gradient to the whole thing? And now I turn the charcoal and hold it by the tip, so I'm holding it very loosely, and I hatch over everything in preparation for blending with my finger. And that creates a nice base tone for the paper, which will allow me to bring out highlights later on. This is important if you're drawing with white paper, because you can only go as white or as light as the paper itself. Now I'm going to come back in and redefine the silhouette, but press a little bit harder to create a thicker and darker line. And the more time you spend drawing a pose or a reference, the more familiar you become, so the placement of shadows becomes more confident, as does the mark making. Here I'm using the blending stem to blend softer edges where my finger is just too big. And then I reach for a bristle brush to smooth out that gradient. So I'm just going to blend up and down and across the leg region. And that's going to give me a really smooth tone. And sometimes I'll use a soft brush because it takes off more charcoal. So if I want to lighten an area, I might come in with a soft brush, like I'm doing here. Now all the hard parts are done, and it's a question of just jumping around and correcting things, or what looks out of place, or which edge needs refining. So this bit I've sped up. You'll have to excuse the overexposed picture here. It does pass very quickly. Now I introduce highlights with a kneaded eraser. As you can see, I create a point by shaping it. Here I'm using a traditional hard eraser, the one you might find in school supplies. You can just put more force behind it if you find that the kneaded eraser isn't erasing quite enough for you. To get extra dark marks with charcoal, you can either press extra hard or you can use a compressed charcoal pencil. And here I've opted for the latter, and this gives me a bit more control as well, as the point is much finer. And that's a quick warm-up sketch for breakfast. After this, I went to the gym and I wanted to tackle the pose again. I did the sketch much faster in real time, but also you've seen the first one, so I just sped it up. Perhaps you can pick up on this, but everything from the way I'm holding the charcoal to how my hand is moving around the paper is much more fluent. There's slightly less thinking and less second guessing, and the whole thing is smoother. I decided to go for a more expressive design straight away, and all in all, this drawing was much more enjoyable for me than the first one. But of course, it's a question of familiarity. I've seen the pose once, I've drawn it, so I can relax into it a bit more. I construct the drawing in a very similar manner to the first one, with the exception that everything is a bit more relaxed and free, and as a result, much more expressive. And that's enough for this one. And here is the final sketch, which took me around 4 minutes in real time, but sped up for your convenience. And with this one, I wasn't drawing entirely from memory, because I had 2 previous drawings right next to this one, but I didn't use the reference image. And I was trying to see how little can I draw to still convey the attitude of the pose. So I just tried to remember the main shadow shapes and angles, and it turned out to be the most expressive of the 3. And if you enjoyed this kind of video, please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions for me, please just leave a comment below. And thank you for watching.